You're listening to Living in Spain podcasts with David Wright.
Morning guys, my name's David Wright and welcome to another one of my podcasts. So today it's Monday morning, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Almeria and we're going to be talking about work in Spain, jobs in Spain, how and where you can find work in Spain and what sort of work British people normally end up doing here in sunny Spain. Okay guys, so 17 years now I've been living here in this part of Spain and originally from Brighton in the UK, as most of you know that follow me. And one of the biggest questions I get asked here all the time really is how can I find work in Spain and what sort of work can I get here in Spain? So yeah, there is work here in Spain for British people and there is a crisis here at the moment with the virus and everything else and employment is low. But there is jobs here, there is work here if you look for it, like anywhere. But there are a few very important things you need to remember when you're coming to Spain and you're looking for work, and we're going to go through those today. So first of all, one of the things I get asked all the time really about finding work in Spain is what sort of jobs can I do here? Well, really it comes down to how good is your Spanish. It sounds obvious really, but I've been over this many times with people here, and if you can't speak Spanish here in Spain, then like any other country where you can't understand the language, you're going to struggle to find work. It's really much like if a Chinese man went to London to look for a job and he didn't speak any English, what sort of work is that Chinese person going to find in England? Or an English person going to China looking for work where he doesn't speak Chinese. It's the same in Spain. If you don't speak the language, you're going to be very limited to what sort of work you can do. The hours are probably going to be longer, lower paid wages and unsociable hours as well. But there are other ways around this. There are things that you can do to find work and jobs in Spain. Okay, so just imagine that you don't speak very good Spanish or your Spanish is very basic and you're going to be looking for work here, whether it's part-time work or full-time work. What sort of jobs can you expect to find here in Spain? Well, there is the basic cleaning jobs here, which a lot of Brits end up doing, and some can be quite profitable as well. And that is cleaning apartments, cleaning rooms out for people that do bed and breakfast, things like that, or bar work when they're doing the cleaning up early in the morning or opening up the bar and late in the evening cleaning up the bar and putting chairs away, things like that. So this sort of work is pretty unsociable hours. It's quite boring sort of work, and it's pretty low paid work. But some of the bars here, if you work for English people, you can get a slightly better wage than normal and you can have quite a good income coming out of it. But you need to be careful as well because a lot of the bars don't like to employ people, so it's normally backhanded cash money. You have to be very careful with that. It's totally illegal to work here and you could be jeopardising your residency here if you're working illegal in Spain. So bar work and cleaning work, very good. There is plenty of that around, especially in the bigger cities, bigger tourist areas, and you find that is pretty seasonable like anything. But if you go to a place like Malaga or Alicante, Benidorm, the bigger places where there's more Brits, then there's more chance of work and you're going to get more regular work throughout the year. Whereas if you're in a smaller, quieter area, in a village or in the hills somewhere, countryside, obviously a lot less chance of finding that work. And if you don't speak the local language, then you're not going to be able to work for the locals, who, by the way, will employ British people. They find them that are hard-working and reliable and polite. So if you can speak a bit of Spanish, you could open up another market for yourself working for the Spanish here as well. So what other types of jobs can British people find here in Spain? Well, there's the dreaded airport run. Look, many people still do here, which is totally illegal, but can be quite profitable. I don't recommend it at all. But what this is people that are staying here a while, they get to know people from their local bar or community, and they do pickups from the airport and drop-offs. They take people to and fro the airport, and they charge them a small fee to take them there in their car or in the owner's car and bring their car back for them, things like that. But what you have to be careful here is, again, it's totally illegal, and then the police at the airport are looking out for cars that are coming in regularly doing this, and if they catch you, again, big fines, and you can be in serious trouble. The other thing is, is if you have an accident, any kind of accident, even if it's not your fault and the police are involved, you're not insured to carry fare-paying passengers here, and you could be in a lot of trouble. And the airport taxis pay money, the airport taxi drivers pay money to have the taxis on the taxi rank at the airport, so they are on the lookout. And I have heard it in Malaga that they've smashed up a couple of cars where they see the person coming in 3 or 4 times a day bringing people. So the Spanish taxi drivers are on the lookout for you. So again, not really a profitable business to get into unless you're doing it properly and you're doing it as a proper business and self-employed. Then that may be another sideline you might want to look into. Okay, so just want to go back onto the cleaning jobs again. There was a lady that I worked for here years ago, did some work on her house, and her husband died, and she had a little bit of money tucked away, but she needed to have a little bit of an income. She was in her 60s, and she didn't really want to just sit down and do nothing all day, so she found herself a little cleaning job. And at first, she just did a few apartments for friends and local people living in an apartment building. And then she decided that, it was taking off a bit. She started doing some key holding, where you look after keys for people that are away on holiday or visiting and things like that. And she got their apartments ready for them just before they come here the day before, and put some milk in the fridge and things like that. And she started to make quite a bit of money on it. And in the end, after about a year, she had 2 Spanish girls and an English girl working for her, cleaning and preparing the apartments. And she went self-employed in her 60s, and she's doing very well indeed. She now just drives around supervising these girls, and she's making quite a good living out of it here now. She didn't want to do it as a job, but it's a bit of a hobby for her, and it's taken off, and it's given her a purpose here, and she's got quite a lot of customers of all nationalities: English, Spanish, French, German, you name it. But she is living in quite a touristy area, so again, that's one of the things you need to think about when you're coming here looking for work. So, yeah, areas. Areas is very important, especially if you don't speak Spanish. So, you might love the hills in Spain, or the beautiful countryside, or the mountain tops. That's great. But if you're coming here and you need to find work, then you need to consider moving to maybe a different area that you might not like so much, where there's more chance of you finding jobs and work in that area. You can always move on later. So, for example, if you say you love the countryside and the open spaces in the mountains, and you want a peace of quiet, but you're looking for work and don't speak Spanish, you might have some sort of experience in retail work or in bar work. So then you need to move to somewhere like Malaga or Alicante, Benidorm, these sort of places where there's going to be the chance of you getting work. And once you get a bit of work established and get some experience behind you, and your Spanish improves a bit, then you can always move on. Or you can move outside a little bit and drive in each day. So, but I would recommend that you don't consider moving out into the country somewhere when you first move here, at least not by if you don't speak any Spanish, because you will be cut off. There won't be many people out there that speak English, and things will be difficult. Even just going to the local supermarket could be difficult in your area. And remember also, when you're out in the country, sometimes up in the hills, the weather changes dramatically. It can be quite cold at night. The winters here, we do get snow in the hills here quite often as well. So it is a big difference. Just about an hour inland can be a very different climate here, not just for work, but for the weather as well. So I've got to tell you a story about a guy that I met a few years ago that was English in a bar here, and he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna find a work here." And I said to him, "Well, what are you interested in?" So he said, "I'm going to be working for a rental car company." So I said, "Oh, great, that's great. Which one?" And he said, "Oh, I haven't got a job yet." He said, "But I'm going to go along the road, and there's several rental car companies here. I'm going to go and see if I can do a bit of part-time work for them." So I said, "So you speak Spanish quite well and you write Spanish?" No, I don't speak very good Spanish, and I can't write Spanish." So I said to him, "Well, how are you going to write? How are you going to fill out the forms and the insurance and the paperwork? That'll all be in Spanish here. Even if you're working with an English client, it's all going to be in Spanish. How are you going to take the phone calls and stuff like that, And if somebody breaks down, you're going to call the breakdown truck out for them, who's going to be Spanish." And "Oh, well, I just work for the English people." I said, "Yeah, that's fine, but you're going to get Spanish customers as well, and you're going to get phone calls in Spanish. So, not being able to speak Spanish, it's not going to be that easy." Oh, what? Yeah. Well, you made me think a little bit about that, and I didn't like to put a damper on it, but it's common sense, really, guys. If you're gonna not be able to speak any Spanish, then you're gonna struggle with any basic job that you think you could do in the UK is going to be 10 times more difficult here, and also you're going to be competing for that job with the local Spanish people, and some of them speak English. So if I'm running a small business here and I've got somebody coming in for a job and they're Spanish and they speak a bit of English and a bit of Spanish, I'm going to take that person over an English person any day, because they've got the double chances of getting work for you or dealing with customers for you, because they speak two languages. So, the language is a major consideration when you're moving to Spain and looking for work here. Okay, so you don't speak much Spanish or nothing at all, and you're looking for work, part-time work. What else can you do? Well, there is something you could try, which is what I did here, which gave me experience and ended up getting me a job. And that is, go around, look for the sort of thing that you might be interested in, a bit of workshop work, bar work, anything like that, and say to the owner, see if you can meet the owner, whether it's English or Spanish, and say to them that you would like to work for them for a few days a week for nothing. And they're going to look a bit surprised, and you probably think this is crazy, but working a couple of days a week for nothing, this will give you so much experience here, and also get you to see how things work in that area, get to meet people, and other doors will open up for you once you're in that environment. Now, I actually did this here. Went to a builder's merchants here looking for some wood, and I wanted a job as a carpenter or work anything like in that sort of industry. And I got quite friendly with a guy after a few weeks that ran this builder's merchants, a small family-run business. And I said to him I was looking for some work, and he said, no, I don't know anybody, I haven't got anything. After a few weeks, I said to him, look, can I work for you just to get some experience and practice my Spanish? He didn't speak any English at all, and my Spanish was pretty basic, but I made myself understood. And I said, I'll work for you for 2 days a week for nothing, absolutely nothing, don't pay me. And he seemed to be in disbelief, but he said, okay, come and sweep up and clear up. I said, yeah, that's fine. So I started a couple of days a week for this guy. His name was Marcelo, and I worked for him, stacking up wood and clearing up the wood shop, and just tidying up sawdust mostly, and cleaning the machines down and things like that. And anyway, after 2 weeks, I'd only been working for about 4 or 5 days. After a couple of weeks, I went in one morning, and there was a guy there that picking up some deliveries with a small truck. There were some kitchen units that Marcelo had made, and they needed delivering. So he said, would I go with the driver and give him a hand? So I did. Went and delivered the units to this house. There were some kitchen units, and there were some guys there fitting the units. So I got chatting with them while we put the units down, and I said to them that I'd done some kitchen fitting and stuff like that, and I'm helping out with Marcelo in the workshop. So they said, well, if you want to have a word with Marcelo, come and work with us, give us a hand. So I said, well, I can't do it for nothing. So anyway, I went back to Marcelo, and he said, the guys work for me, but they've got their own contracts and they're self-employed, but they do work for me, for my customers. He said, if you want to work with me and give them a hand, I'll pay you 30 a day. And I thought, 30 a day, that's crazy. 30 euros a day, that's peanuts, But it's a start. I actually was offered money. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I'll work 3 days a week. And I worked 3 days a week, 8 hours a day for these guys. And they were working locally, fitting kitchen units. After it must have been about 6 weeks working for these guys, on and off, they said to me, well, look, we need you more often. We need you. I said, no, I can't do it because, the money, it's no good. And I got called into the office, and Marcelo gave me a contract job, a 3-month contract job, paying me full rate. And I was earning €350 a week, all legal and above board, fitting kitchen units. And I did this for a few months with Marcelo, and that's my break. And after that I went self-employed. My Spanish was pretty good, and I set up my own building and maintenance business here in Spain, and all because I was able to work for €30 a day, and before that for nothing. So not many people will think that's a good idea, but it got me in. It made me improve my Spanish dramatically. In a few weeks I was working with these guys. I did learn a lot of Spanish swear words in that time as well. I learned a lot about the Spanish culture, how it works, how the life system is here, and that was priceless for me, doing that work for nothing for a few weeks, and even working for €30. Although friends of mine here, English friends of mine, said I was crazy, not so crazy when I set up my own business and had all these contacts, because working for these guys I found out where they got their materials from, their suppliers, and going there with them, picking up materials and supplies, I got to know the people knew me, so it was easy to open up accounts and get the materials I want at discounted rates. So yeah, this might be something you want to think about. Start offering your services for free. If you're here and you're moving here first, you've probably got a small cushion of money where you don't actually need to work straight away, so giving up some time, a few weeks or a couple of months to work for free for somebody might be an option for you. Okay, so say you do speak Spanish then. If you're coming here and your Spanish is pretty good. Now, the Spanish companies here, they normally only give contracts for around 3 months. And the reason they do that is because they're not tied down so much. And 3 months, they can let people go and re-employ people. And they don't have to pay out the expenses like they do if you're on a full-time, long-term, permanent contract here in Spain. So it's normally very difficult to get a contract here more than 3 or 6 months, even if you do speak Spanish here. But if you do speak pretty good Spanish, then obviously you're able to travel around more, you can move outside of the bigger areas, and a lot more things open up to you. And one of the tips I'll give you here as well is get a CV done. Now, a very basic CV, get it done and print it out on your computer, but do it as a one-page CV and have it in English and Spanish, okay? And then email this to companies that you think you might like to work for. Look them up on Google in your area, see what's around. So say, for instance, you want to be a hairdresser here. Have all your details in English and Spanish on 2 separate papers and send it to the local hairdressers, or go there in person and give it to them. Introduce yourself, say you're looking for work in the area. They'll probably just take it, put it on the side and forget all about it. But then a great tip here is go back a week later or 10 days later and just say, hi, do you remember me? I came in, and show them the CV again, take them another copy. This could open up doors to you as well, and also it gets you to know local people in your area, and it could lead on to other jobs. Sometimes they might say, well, I haven't got any work for you, but my friend is looking for somebody, things like that. So it's all down to the effort you put in. It may sound like a bit of a waste of time at first, but just walking around, putting out posters. I mean, this is something I did here. I put out loads and loads of posters. I got some flyers printed off, about 250 flyers, little A4 paper cut in half with 2 on each page. Printed it out on my computer, took it to the local print shop, got 250 copies made, which is peanuts. Went out early in the mornings, posting it in places I think I might get work, and I got a few contacts this way. So, there's all sorts of things you can do here to push on your chances. But really, guys, at the end of the day, it all depends on how much you want to put into it, how hungry you are for this sort of work. Okay, another thing is looking for work here in Spain. Where can you find the jobs? Where are the jobs advertised? Well, it's very difficult if you don't speak any English looking for jobs. You're not really going to find much unless you look in the local in the local English papers, and there might not be many English papers that are related to your area. Most of the bigger towns and cities do have English newspapers now, and there'll be some jobs in there for English speakers that don't speak any Spanish. But you're going to be competing with everybody else in that area in the same boat as you, looking for the same sort of jobs. But I would say go to Idealist, places like this. Look for a job market, jobsforyou.com. And there's many more. Just Google them in your area. There'll be different ones in your area, but do it in Spanish. Now, if you don't speak Spanish, do Google Translate, look for jobs and things like that, job search, job websites, put all these different names in, these different keywords, and get it Google translated, and then copy and paste that into Google, into the search bar, and you'll come up with all the Spanish equivalent. And then just look on there, and if you don't understand a job or you don't understand it, you can use Google Translate. Most mobile phones now have a translator on the phone or camera app that you can translate, and just go down this road, have a look round and see where the Spanish look for their jobs. Send your CVs out, if nothing else, to these companies and see if you get any response. A lot of the companies here now, some of the owners speak English, so they may be looking for somebody that is an English person to help them out in that area, especially if it's in a bigger city or town here in Spain. So my last tip here is, if you're coming to Spain looking for work, Don't be disillusioned. People saying there's no work in Spain. It's really bad. There's unemployment in Spain. Look, there's unemployment and crisis all around the world at the moment, and jobs are difficult to find anywhere. But there is work here in Spain. You can make money here in Spain. There's hundreds of British people I know personally here in Spain that are doing very well, thank you. They've set up their business and they're working hard. It is hard work to set up when you first start a business here in Spain or finding work in Spain, as it is anywhere in the world. But there is work here if you get out and look for it. And I've got a book out called Finding Work in Spain, which is on Amazon, and it's a free download to some Kindle devices, depending on which device you use. But if you look for that, Finding Work in Spain, there is loads of places that here, websites and links that I've put in the book where you can find work, where the locals look for work, and the links to these sites that the locals get to find jobs here in Spain, as well as loads of other great tips and stress-saving tips on finding work here in Spain. So I hope these tips have helped, guys. If they have, please just leave a like at the end of this podcast and listen out for the next one. Thanks for listening.
If you have enjoyed this podcast by David Wright, then you will love his new books. Out now on Amazon and Kindle, packed with money-saving tips and information on living and working in Spain. Just go to livinginspainbooks.com. David also has a popular blog for expats in Spain. Come and take a look now at britishexpatsinspain.com.